and security. But you can't get these 5 unless you do something else. That's what gives you the 6th sector. And this is infrastructure. How will you process food if you don't have electricity? How will you transport it if you don't have roads and you don't have the railway? How will you have factories if you don't have piped water? Because you need piped water to clean those factories. Telephones now have become important as a way of communication. In the olden days, in Ntungamo, I could stand somewhere near Kajuriga and shout, Iwe! I would call, and the people there would hear me. That one can no longer work. We shout through the phones. That's how we talk. That's how we communicate. So that is the 6th sector, which is very crucial. The 6th need, they need the utilities that enable the other 5 sectors that deal with the other 5 needs to operate. But number 7, people must be healthy. Yes, I've talked about medicine as the need number 4, but you can have medicine, but you don't have the infrastructure to dispense it. So you need the infrastructure of health, the health centers, that network of how you, and the employees. You need the personnel to deal with health, and you need the network to deal with health. So that is crucial area number 7. Number 8 is education. Because to do all the other things we are talking about, to grow the food, to process it, you need education, educated people. And the education gives you the literacy, the ability to read and write, the numeracy, to count, the skills to do things, skills, and intellectuality, to be highly knowledgeable and able to deal with big problems. But originally I had thought about these 8, but later on, when I interacted with other people, they pointed out something different, something additional. They said, but how do you deal with corruption? The only way you deal with corruption, apart from taking people to Chankwanzi, is to deal with the spiritual side. The spiritual side to sensitize people, and they know that they are not only accountable to man here, but they are accountable to God. So this is need number 9. Food, clothing, shelter, medicine, security, infrastructure, education, health network, and spirituality. If you have these, you can survive and even thrive. Now the problem, but which is the other economy? The other economy which people are crying about now is the economy of pleasure and leisure. One of my daughters had abandoned me with my cows and gone into tourism in winter there with the Bafumbira. This is a new activity for the Basita, for my clan. not to be in cows or crops, and you go to take people to see wild animals. Okay, this is new, but if it can bring some money, all right. But if it can't, I'm not worried, I go back to my cows. So therefore, some of these sectors like tourism, like hotels, like entertainment, bars, sports. I'm a sportsman, but if the football matches are cancelled, I will not die. I will wait until they come. Music, dancing. These are really economies of leisure and pleasure. Now, the good fortune, and that's why I want you all to focus, is that the other type of economy, the real economy, the economy of survival and livelihood, is not so vulnerable, is not so vulnerable, is not so sensitive. Because the other economies, tourism, one incident of a terrorist throwing a bomb, the terrorists cancel. So, there's a danger of terrorism. Sometimes the governments, especially the Western governments, are fond of undermining our economies. They give advisory. We think it is not safe to go to Uganda. Then the cancelling the bookings are cancelled. And as you have seen, with this virus now, travel became impossible, became a source of danger. And people had to, even if we had not banned the travel, I'm sure people themselves were going to stop traveling by themselves because they were afraid. They were afraid. So, while the real economy, but for food, whether there is war, whether there is an epidemic, food will be needed. And sometimes it will be needed even more than when you had no problem. So therefore, Ugandans, I would like to reorient your thinking. And that's what I've been telling the ministers. If you look at these sectors, there's a lot of money which we have been either not getting or we have been losing to the outside. And jobs. If you start with the food sector and you are to look at the imports of Uganda, Uganda is still importing animal feeds. Why should Uganda import animal feeds? Animal feeds are from chachu. Chachu is from maize. We have a lot of maize. We don't know where to sell it. The other time the prices had to collapse, but yet we are importing animal feeds. So let that gap be finished. No more importing of animal feeds. Let our private sector, assisted by the UDB, Uganda Development Bank, go into that area and make sure no importation of animal feeds. How much money will that save us? And how many jobs will it create? This is what I'm challenging you now to analyze. Then you come to sugar. We have been having a surplus of sugar. The Basoga were crying with ebikado. Ebikado bingi kamara biriyeyo ebusoga. Ebikado bityeime. The sugar canes are there. But then when you look into the import figures of Uganda, Uganda is importing sugar, what they call industrial grade sugar. This is the sugar for putting in Coca-Cola. Uganda, East Africa don't make sugar for putting in Coca-Cola. The only sugar they are making is this one of Kachai. And when I looked at the figures, that was taking like $30 million from our foreign exchange earning for putting in Coca-Cola. Uganda, East Africa don't make sugar for putting in Coca-Cola. The only sugar they are making is this one of Kachai. And when I looked at the figures, that was taking like $30 million from our foreign exchange earning. It's going to buy the more refined sugar, which is used in Coca-Cola. We have got a factory of medicines at Rizira called CIPRA, Quality Chemicals. They use sugar, what they call pharmaceutical grade sugar, the one which can be used in some of the medicines like the syrups for children medicine need sugar, but that sugar is not here. They must import it from India and from China. And that's why the tablets are still expensive, because they are importing that industrial pharmaceutical grade sugar from outside. So, on the side of food, there's a lot of potential for growing more food and processing it and consuming import substitution, but also export to other countries. Like, for instance, the milk. The Banyankole had started interfering with my work. The other time I went there and I found, milk. I said, what are you saying about milk? Amategato. Your milk. They were quarreling with my Indians. The Indians I brought from I don't know where. I brought them. They were quarreling with them. So why do you quarrel with my Indians without telling me first? You don't know the problems of this world. To what Chariao, when we were still there, because of the milk we have encouraged to increase, there's so much milk now. Milk had gone from 200 million liters a year to 2.6 billion. When the rains came, Kenya said they no longer wanted to import our milk because they had more milk. And the milk was threatening to have no market. But fortunately, one of my Indians whom I had brought, for him, he was not processing milk for drinking, either as fresh milk or as liquid milk, not even as powdered milk. For him, he was getting a protein called casein out of milk, which they use for baby foods, for food supplements, for medicine. So, that man is taking much of the milk now. It's going to the US. You look at cassava and even maize. Some of the things you put in the medicines, like the tablets, is what they call industrial grade starch. Starch which can be used in making tablets. That is from cassava. So, if you go on the subject of food, I have written a document here. There is an endless list of what you can do with food in terms of industry, which can bring in more money and create jobs. Then you go now to clothing. We are importing clothes, big number of clothes. Even these curtains here, these were imported from China. If you look at what the honorable people here are wearing, these are all market of imports, except myself. Except for the trousers, but I couldn't come here without trousers. So. But for the shirt, at least I'm not part of the group. If you look at the figures for the imports, it's quite a lot of money for clothes. And then all the other things, the hospital linen, what have you. So, let us stop imports of clothes, support import substitution, and also exports in Africa. The global demand for clothes is very huge. I think it's like $900 billion or something like that. They are all in my document here. So from the clothes, you go to the shelter. I think the shelter we are doing well already. We are already making our own cement. We are not importing cement anymore, which is good. We make some mitayimbwa. The other time I went to Moroto to open a marbles factory, very big marbles factory. But there are still some types of mitayimbwa which you cannot use, you cannot make using recycled steel, because we are still using scrap metal to make mitayimbwa. These dams and the big houses like this one will not accept that steel. So we are going to develop our steel industry from Obutare, from the iron ore, to be able to make fresh steel. But also not only do that, but alloy it, mix it with other minerals, which are now being squandered, being exported, nickel, we have them here, but people are not using them. So that sector will create a lot of jobs. Then you go to medicine. We are importing a lot of the medicine, tablets, what have you, injectables, vaccines. This is a lot of money and jobs, and we are going to make them here. We are going to support groups like Quality Chemicals, like this one, which they are using for the corona, hydroxychloroquine. I spoke with the Prime Minister of India. He's going to send us some of those tablets, but also send us raw materials to make our own hydroxychloroquine here. even the vaccines, the injectables, not only for human beings, but even for livestock, veterinary, we are going to make them here. Defense weapons we have already started, but we are going to expand to rely on ourselves in making weapons for our defense. Because this is the part of the artificiality of the African economies. How can you have a country which cannot defend itself? Our ancestors were making spears themselves. They were not importing spears, they were not importing arrows. But here, everything is imported. What sort of people are we? And those are jobs. We spend a lot of money importing this, importing that, for security. Even these cameras we put on the road there to watch the people who are doing bad things, they were imported. Why can't we make them here? The cameras on the roads, the anti-riot equipment, all those things we need. We are going to make sure that we double our efforts. Now, in order to do all that, I have already told you, you need the infrastructure, the electricity, the roads, the railway. That one we are doing well. And that's why I am sure that it is easy for us to reorient the economy. Then education, I think education we are doing well. The only lacking thing is the skills, to have more skills, And you members of parliament support my policy of paying the scientists well first. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, the rest will be added unto you. Pay the scientists well first. Because the scientists are the ones, when we had corona, the doctors are the ones on the front line. I have not seen any administrator there. In the world of corona, I have not seen any administrator or a clerk or I have not seen. I see my young doctors, my young nurses, they are the ones on the front line. When we had the problem of the dam being attacked by the floating island, the engineers are the ones I found there. Maybe the other group who were there were the rumor mongers, the pressmen. For them, they were not adding anything. Just see whether the dam breaks or doesn't break. That's all. But what are you contributing? I'm not contributing anything. I'm here to say what has happened. Is that really the solution? So my engineers struggled until they solved that problem. The locusts in Karamoja, they are the army, are the one who did most of the work. So really, if you want your country to stabilize, really all of you, before you start this one, please, let's first stabilize our scientists. These people can do so many things. You have seen what they have done with the corona. You look at all those, you don't see a single foreigner among them. They are our people. This gives me a lot of happiness because I know what the situation was in 1961 when I went to Tuntari for the first time. There were 40 teachers there, only 2 were Africans. All the rest were whites. But when now I see the whole hospital is full of Ugandans, the dams, it's very good, but we are mishandling our scientists. This must stop. It must stop. The scientists must be paid first. And I'm tired of begging people. The other time, even in my own caucus, I brought a proposal to pay the science teachers better in the schools. Then one of my young people came, no, we are all teachers. We are all teachers. Well, but when the dam was going to break, I didn't see you going to read Shakespeare to the dam. Why didn't you take Shakespeare and you read to the dam? We looked for scientists. So this one, the Banyankore say, tuingane turaha marwa. When people are drunk, they say, go sinzaki, I am also a man, you are also a man. But when you are sober, you discover that the other man is much better than you. So please, this tuingane, I don't support. Let's pay. It's really undermined. These scientists can solve so many problems. They are so knowledgeable, but they are not concentrated. They're running here to support their children to do this. Nevertheless, they still, some of them have private clinics. That's why they have private clinics. These doctors. If we pay them well and says nobody should have double royalty to have a private clinic, and then you will have a very high quality medical service. So, with the number 6, I want us to solve that issue. You, the people who are involved. Now the others are clear. So, once we handle these 9, we shall have a bigger economy than what we have been having. Yes, we have lost tourism. Tourism was from here I see that the agriculture, forestry and fisheries, 3 million people are working there. In manufacturing, 700,000. In trade, 2 million. Those can remain there, but they should now, instead of importing, they should distribute our own goods. I don't mind you trading. I don't mind you, but you distribute ours. So we don't have to say that once we lose imports, that this will lose jobs. No, they will just reorient their activities. Distribute our things and also export. You can be a trader by exporting. Why are you only a trader by importing? So I don't think that these ones are in trouble. Hotels, restaurants and bars, those were employing 300,000, 321,000. Arts, entertainment and sports, 386,000. So, you can see that the big sectors are still there. Agriculture is still there. Manufacturing is still there. And once we consolidate them and expand them, the other groups, the other sector, the other economies will come back after the situation in the world stabilizes. I was looking at the figures. In 1994, our economy grew by 11%. That was the highest rate of growth. That's when we had just stabilized the economy and we had opened the Owen Falls Dam, we had upgraded it. So the economy grew by 11%. When I looked on tourism, that time, the tourists in Uganda were only 147,000, very, very small. So the economy was growing. It's a very high rate, although tourism was still down because Uganda didn't have yet a good reputation. So therefore, I don't share this pessimism of, yes, some sectors have suffered, but there are sectors where we can do much better. Who will do what? The government will do its small part, even in terms of manufacturing. The government gave my office some small money for manufacturing, And I told Nachobe to solve some issues systematically. The one we're going to start with is leather. Ugandans have been imported. We have 14 million cows, 14 million sheep, goats, I don't know how many sheep, but we have been importing shoes, importing handbags of our daughters, importing all leather. So I told Nachobe, solve the problem of leather. Some of our young people are making shoes because we encouraged them. We even trained them at Kololo to make shoes. But they are using imported leather from I don't know where. There is no leather here. Uganda, the land of Balunzi, Umukovasoba, Akoba, Ntivazira Amaliba. Are they called Amaliba? Skins. What do you call skins? Empu, that's real Nyankore, ancient Nyankore. You know, there was so to speak, old Nyankore. Amau. So we who are cattle keepers, Tuzira Amahu products. What sort of? So I've told Nachobe to solve the issue of leather, and she has imported machines. We're going to put them somewhere and process leather so that issue of leather is solved. I am working with Bishop Odama, Archbishop Odama, on the issue of starch. We are going to use cassava in northern Uganda to resolve the issue of starch. Starch for factories, starch for medicine, starch for... The other Indians of ours, of Buyukwe, of Mayuge, those Mayuge Indians who are also in Buyukwe, we have agreed that they solve the issue of the industrial grade sugar. They should produce it. And then they should produce also. So, we are going to systematically say, to allocate responsibilities that you solve this one, you solve that one. Some will be done by the government using UDC. Many will be done by the private sector. And the private sector have responded. You have seen how they have made the sanitizers. Sanitizers were a problem when this virus started. There was only one factory in Jinja owned by Japanese making sanitizers in the whole of East Africa. The Kenyans were buying from here. Then some of our people wanted to say, well, no, we need the sanitizers, don't export. I said, I don't want to hear that language. I'm a person of God. I don't believe in selfishness. You cannot hear people dying. You say, the little which is there is only mine. Ogenda mugeyena, nzisagala ogenda mugeyena. Abagala ogenda mugeyena mbasibudde mugende. Nete muntwala. Don't take me there. So I said, I will not allow the little which is there. We shall share it. And in no time, my warrage makers, the ones who are making warrage for killing you fellows, they all shifted to making now sanitizers. Because warrage is a small sanitizer. It is alcohol, apparently 30% or something like that. Now, if you boil it more, it goes to 70%, then it becomes a sanitizer. So the warrage which was killing our people now has found a new job to kill the virus. That one is taking off, that industry. Then the masks. Very soon we may require many people to put on masks. Nike is already making them. And Fine Spinners is making them. Yuri, Dr. Kwesiga, is going to make them also. So, gloves, these protective, these clothes for hospital. By giving jobs we are going to change the economy of Uganda from being an economy of dependency to being an economy of independence and also export oriented. And in order to do that, we are going to expand the capital base of UDB. UDB, so that they can lend to all these different lines at low interest. So therefore, on this Labor Day, I want to cheer you up. Don't listen to those people who are talking doom. Things are going to collapse. I don't know what. Yes, they may collapse elsewhere, but not here. Why? Because here we have got a strong base. We have got a very strong base, but people don't know it because they behave artificially. Now, on the small issues of how to handle the workers in this crisis, my advice would be this business of laying off workers is not a good idea. Things are going to improve tomorrow. So why do you lay off? Why don't you? They don't even weigh the words. Because they hear people in Europe are laying off, they also lay off. If the Europeans sleep on the road, you're also going to sleep on the road. That language of laying off, why don't you say, you go home briefly for this month, I don't have money to pay you because I have not worked. You've seen me, I've been here. That's reasonable. You go home. When we resume, I will call you. Your own workers, if you have been satisfied with them, why do you lay them off? Why don't you say, send them on leave? You may not even have the money to pay them. They will understand because they have seen that you have not worked. Why do we use the language of laying off? Why not send on leave until the situation clears? But if you follow my plan, which is all in my other documents, I will give you copies. This economy will grow much bigger than it has been. And the other sectors which, the fair weather sectors, because this one, the sectors I'm talking about, food, clothing, shelter, medicine, these are all weather sectors. They will never go away as long as people are there. Even when there's war, they will be there. The other sectors which you are worried about are fair weather sectors. They come when the weather is fair. When it is not so fair, they go away. So I congratulate you, and I can assure you that even the fair weather sectors will come back. Because I think during this crisis, quite a number of people in the world have seen that Uganda may be safer than many parts of the world. And you fellows who like to travel. Me, I only travel when I have no alternative. Ate njagala kufira yeyo bwengenda yo air conditioning what? Katonda yanzija yo. Otherwise, for me, when I get a little time, Rwachitura, Chisozi, because I've never seen any part of the world which is better than Uganda. I have never seen it. Byemunonye weru sibimanyi mpozi mwe mulina amaso agatali gange. So I suspect if God gets us through this crisis, even these opportunistic sectors, these ones of tourism, the fair weather sectors may rush here because people have been watching. But This place seems to be stable, seems to be secure. Some of my people rang me from London the other time before the closure. They said, please, get me from London. There are some of my people whom I had to get from those and bring them here. So after those sectors, the fair weather sectors may rush in, including the medical, because the reputation of the medical of your people has gone up. You see those young people discharging all these sick people who are sick, no death. I think even the other sectors will come back. But let's concentrate on this one. And sensitize the workers. Tell them that if you have been in tourism, if it has had a problem, why don't you look at these other new sectors which are coming? And then we can even work out plans of skilling. We can see how to enhance those skilling, these technical schools. So, with these few words, I congratulate all the workers of Uganda and all the Ugandans. Next week, I'll be talking about the way forward as far as the lockdown is concerned. Thank you very much. I wish you good luck.
Thank you, Excellency. Let's get standing for the anthems, and then we depart.